What if suffering is not always the result of personal failure, but an opportunity for something greater to be revealed? Why do people rush to assign blame when they see brokenness, instead of looking for purpose? And what happens when light enters a life that has never known sight before? Not just physically, but spiritually. The streets of Jerusalem were still filled with movement, voices and tension from previous encounters with Jesus. Every moment with him seemed to challenge assumptions. Every teaching seemed to shift perspective. And now something unusual catches the attention of the disciples. They see a man who has been blind from birth, not recently, not temporarily, but from the beginning of his life. And that detail alone changes how people interpret his condition. The disciples immediately ask a question that reflects common thinking in that time. Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind? It is a question rooted in a belief system that connects suffering directly to personal wrongdoing. Cause and effect, sin and consequence, action and punishment. But Jesus responds in a way that shifts the entire framework. Neither this man nor his parents sinned, he says, but this happened so that the works of God might be displayed in him. This statement is not a denial of responsibility in general. It is a redefinition of interpretation. Because not all suffering can be explained through blame. Some situations exist for a greater revelation, something that cannot be seen immediately, something that unfolds through time and encounter. Jesus continues, "As long as it is day, we must do the works of him who sent me. Night is coming when no one can work." Here, the conversation moves from explanation to urgency, from understanding suffering to responding to opportunity. Because what matters now is not why the man is blind, but what will be done in the presence of that condition. Then Jesus says something deeply symbolic. "While I am in the world, I am the light of the world." This statement connects directly to previous teachings. Light reveals, light exposes, light gives sight, not just physical sight, but perception of truth. And now Jesus demonstrates that truth in action. He spits on the ground, makes mud with the saliva, and applies it to the man's eyes. Then he tells him, "Go, wash in the pool of Siloam." The man obeys, he goes, he washes, and he comes back seeing. This is a moment that cannot be explained only through physical healing. It carries symbolic depth, because this is not just restoration of vision. It is the introduction of light into a life that has never experienced it before. Imagine that for a moment. A lifetime of darkness, no memory of color, no memory of faces, no visual reference for the world, and then suddenly, sight. Everything changes at once. What was once only imagination becomes reality. What was once only sound and touch becomes visible form. But the story does not end there, because healing is not only about physical change, it also creates social and spiritual disruption. The neighbors who had known him before are confused. Isn't this the same man who used to sit and beg? Some say yes, others say no. And the man himself simply says, "I am the man." That simple statement carries weight, because transformation often creates confusion in others before it creates understanding. People struggle to reconcile old identity with new reality, and that is exactly what is happening here. So they ask him, "How were your eyes opened?" He explains what Jesus did. He tells them about the mud, about the instruction, about the washing, about the result. But even after hearing this, questions remain. Because transformation challenges assumptions, it forces people to reconsider what they thought they knew. The man is then brought before the Pharisees, and now the focus shifts from healing to interpretation, because not everyone sees the miracle the same way. The Pharisees begin by questioning the timing. It was the Sabbath when Jesus made the mud and healed him, and for them that becomes the issue, not the healing itself, but the method, not the result, but the timing. They say, "This man is not from God, for he does not keep the Sabbath." Others disagree. How can a sinner perform such signs? So even among religious leaders, there is division. One event, two interpretations, and now conflict begins to grow. The healed man is asked again, "What do you say about him? It was your eyes he opened." And the man responds with growing clarity, "He is a prophet." At this stage, his understanding is developing. It is not yet complete, but it is moving forward. Because encounter with truth often unfolds gradually. First experience, then reflection, then understanding, then belief. Meanwhile, doubt continues to circulate among others. They cannot reconcile the miracle with their expectations of authority. So they question whether he was truly blind in the first place. They call his parents. They interrogate them. They ask if he was really born blind. And his parents confirm it. But they avoid deeper involvement out of fear of consequences. Because acknowledging Jesus openly at that moment could lead to exclusion. So they shift responsibility back to their son. He is of age, ask him. This reveals another layer of tension in the passage. Fear of social consequence, fear of authority, fear of truth that challenges structure, and that fear shapes how people respond. The man who was healed is questioned again, and now his confidence begins to grow. He does not yet fully understand who Jesus is, but he understands what happened to him, and that experience cannot be dismissed. He says something powerful. "One thing I do know, I was blind, but now I see." That statement becomes central, because it moves beyond explanation, beyond debate, beyond argument. It is testimony, personal, undeniable experience. And that experience becomes a foundation that others cannot easily dismantle. The Pharisees continue questioning, but the man's clarity grows stronger. He begins to challenge their assumptions. He asks why they want to hear it again. He wonders if they also want to become Jesus' disciples. This shift shows something important. Transformation is not only physical, it also changes perspective. The man who once depended on others for interpretation is now forming his own understanding, and that understanding is based on experience, not theory. Eventually, he is cast out, rejected by the system, excluded from the structure. But that rejection does not end his story, because Jesus seeks him again. When Jesus hears that he has been cast out, he finds him and asks, "Do you believe in the Son of Man?" The man responds with openness, "Who is he, sir? Tell me so that I may believe in him." Jesus reveals himself. "You have now seen him. In fact, he is the one speaking with you." And the man believes, he worships. This moment completes the journey. From blindness to sight, from confusion to clarity, from healing to belief. But this story is not only about physical restoration, it is about perception. Because blindness in this passage is not only about eyes, it is also about understanding. The disciples saw a problem and asked about blame. The neighbors saw a change and debated identity. The Pharisees saw a miracle and questioned legitimacy. But the man himself moved from experience to belief. And that difference shapes the entire message. Jesus uses this situation to reveal something deeper. That suffering is not always punishment. That healing is not always immediately accepted. And that truth often unfolds through stages of understanding. First encounter, then explanation, then resistance, then clarity, then belief. And each stage reveals something about how people respond to truth. Some remain focused on systems, some focus on rules, some focus on fear. But others focus on experience, and experience becomes undeniable. "I was blind, but now I see." That statement carries more weight than any argument, because it is lived reality, not theory, not interpretation. Reality. As we reflect on this passage, we see a pattern that continues beyond this moment. Truth often arrives in ways that challenge expectation. It disrupts assumptions, it forces re-evaluation, and it invites response. But not everyone responds the same way. Some resist, some question, some grow, some believe. And the difference is often not in the truth itself, but in willingness to see it differently. The man born blind becomes a powerful symbol, not only of physical healing, but of spiritual awakening. Because seeing in this passage is more than eyesight. It is understanding, it is recognition, it is belief. And that transformation is what Jesus brings, not only restoration of sight, but revelation of truth. And that truth continues to speak beyond the moment, inviting each listener to consider their own perspective. Are we seeing clearly? Or are there areas where understanding has not yet fully opened? Because sometimes the greatest change is not in what we see, but in how we see. Thank you for watching this video. If this message spoke to your heart, don't forget to like, follow the channel, and share this video with someone who needs encouragement today.